Hey, welcome to Overcome. I'm Christine Faraci, and each week I bring you amazing people who share their stories of not only how they managed and survived, but actually thrived through life's difficulties. And you'll find most of those stories have what we consider happy endings. But oftentimes, success is peppered with tragedy. And sometimes I'm going to bring those tragedies to you as well, not to scare you. Hey, this is an upbeat show, right? We're Overcome. But to show you that out of the worst of times, life can still give you the best of times. But it's up to you. Sometimes you just got to pick yourself up, make yourself keep going. Yeah, it's okay once in a while to lay in the bed with the covers over your head, but you're eventually going to have to get up and get something to eat. And your life light cannot shine in the world under the covers. After all, the phoenix did arise from the ashes. Today's guest, Deb Leone, faced such a personal tragedy, and yet she turned it around to this glorious service of love in the community. In 1989, her daughter Melanie was diagnosed at the age of 11 with acute lymphocytic leukemia, or ALL. According to the National Institutes of Health, ALL is a fast-growing cancer that causes an abnormal cell growth of white blood cells. These cancerous cells then attack things like bone marrow, bones, and spleen. About 3,800 children each year are diagnosed with leukemia, and 80% of those are ALL. As a mom, I can't even imagine what it must be like, just the nightmare of watching your child go through treatment for leukemia. Prior to her diagnosis, Deb's daughter Melanie was a competitive swimmer, an Olympic hopeful, a joyful girl with a dream of winning the gold medal in the 1992 Olympics. After a nearly 3-year journey, Melanie died at the age of 14. During her journey, Melanie inspired many and awakened her family and friends to a different perspective on healthy living, healing, and health maintenance, a perspective that her mother is here today to share. Hi, Deb. Welcome to the show, and thank you so much for you and just for being willing to come on here and share your story with other people.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to come on and share.
Thanks. So I know it's probably going to be a little challenging, but would you share with us, please, basically how yours and Melanie's journey began and the adversity that your family faced?
Melanie was diagnosed with leukemia when she was 11, and it was an ordinary day and an ordinary experience. She had cold and flu-like symptoms. She was a competitive swimmer and off to practice every day and off to school every day, and there came a week where she just wasn't feeling very well, and gave her some aspirin and put her to bed, and she didn't get better. So we took her in to the doctors and did the status quo, and the doctors are like, oh, she probably has mono. And so they did the blood tests and sent us home and asked us to come back. When the blood tests were finished and we went back to the doctor's office about 1:30 in the afternoon. It's been a long time, but it's funny how you remember all of those details. And in the conference room, the doctor just came in and said the bloods show that Melanie has leukemia. And it was just such a huge, huge word to hear. And you're so not prepared for it. And it just stops you dead in your tracks. You're a little girl, leukemia, this is cancer, I don't know anything about it, what are we going to do, what's going to happen to us? And then you just kind of become numb and you get in the zone. And so we took Melanie to the hospital, and you're onslaughted with doctors, and she's scared to death, and you're trying to be positive and supportive for your child, and at the same time you're probably twice as scared as they are. So It was quite the roller coaster for the first 24 hours, and we met the oncologist, and he gave us little blips here and there of here's what you're going to do, and here's the protocol you're going to go through, and here's your literature that you're going to read, and you actually do just get so scared that it's one moment at a time. You put one foot in front of the other. You're never quite sure whether you're coming or going, and that was Mel's journey, and it started on August 31st, 1989, and it went on for a while, and we learned a lot, and we learned a lot of what not, and most of my process and what I've gone through since Melanie's journey has been what I have evolved to today. I was a single parent, and Melanie had an older sister as we went through this process, and she had her regular protocol, chemotherapy, radiation. The doctors are the authority, so you follow whatever they say. She was in remission in 4 weeks. She came home, had 18 months of recovery, and then the cancer came back. And in the second relapse, we had to go to Seattle for a bone marrow transplant. There were no transplants happening here in Arizona. That procedure was not possible. And you begin again. You think everything's better. You think, okay, everything is going to work. They know how to fix this. I was told she had an 80% chance of recovery. And then the leukemia was back. And so we started again. And they had something else for us. So this time it was bone marrow transplant. And it was in Seattle. So I was a single parent. This gets the toughest part. Because when the child gets sick, the family gets sick. Everybody gets involved in the process, and it's not just that Melanie had a physical illness. There was emotional trauma and mental stress that went with it, and for the whole family, it's physical, emotional, mental stress and trauma. So we went through the process in Seattle, and we were there for 4 months, and the financial burden was huge. I had to pay my mortgage payment here in Arizona, and all of my bills that went with it, and then I had to pay rent in Seattle, which was twice as much as my mortgage payment. So that part, I'm not quite sure how we got through. I do remember calling some of the organizations that I thought would be there to support victims of cancer, and I was told that there was no financial support. All the funding went to research. So miracles. But Melanie and I and my daughter Veronica were all very positive thinkers. We believed in visualization, we believed in miracles, and we experienced several, one right after the other when it came to Melanie's healing and our financial trauma, and we had a lot of people show up to support us. My story and my journey with Melanie and Veronica and our, the Leone women and their story is we know the aftermath of that. And in Melanie's courage to go through the journey, and even in exiting the planet, she gave us that information so we could help other people.
So, how did you and your family then cope through this? Did you have any strategies or things that you did, that took you from this massive roller coaster ride and watching your daughter be ill? I can't imagine. I mean, it's one thing to go through something yourself, right, but to have to watch the person you love more than anyone in the world, right, or the people you love, because right, like you said, it was the family involvement. So you're watching Melanie, and you're watching Veronica, and you're watching yourself in third person. How did you cope?
I think the most supportive coping thing that we did was we took one day at a time. You can't look too far in the future. You definitely can't look into the past. Melanie and I, and Veronica to an extent, were really big believers in positive mental attitude and creative visualization. We had actually read a book called Creative Visualization, and we practiced it. We practiced visualizing and positive mental thinking. So taking one day at a time, we implemented a lot of that visualization into our daily practice. We'd sit in the morning and we'd visualize. Melanie and I would take time to visualize her cells being healthy, her hair growing back. We kept a very positive mental attitude. through my own healing process, I came up with the idea to create a nonprofit that would support alternative medicine as a complement to the Western protocols and would support families of children with cancer financially. And we gave birth to the Melonhead Foundation on May 20th, 1997.
Wow. So how did you come up with the name Melonhead Foundation?
That was a no-brainer. That was Melanie's nickname. And we cremated Melanie and dumped her ashes in the ocean because she loved the ocean, and I did not want a gravestone, and I didn't want to go to the cemetery. The Melonhead Foundation was going to be Melanie's living legacy, and when she was 10 years old and went to one of her first big swimming competitions out of state that I could not attend, she and her little girlfriends were goofing around and being silly and gave each other nicknames, and Melanie's nickname was Melonhead. So this is her living legacy.
That's really sweet.
Yeah. So keeping in Melanie's very light spirit and, you know, her fun and frivolity, we have Camp Wanahillia, and
and that's all one word, right?
It's all one word. It has that focus on the, you know, the Native American energy of America, but we made it up. And Camp Wanahillia will be a healing home environment which will teach and implement natural healing not only for the children but for their family members. And we will have wellness for the families of children with cancer as well as the child. And we have successfully completed 2 prototypes back in 2002 here in Arizona, so we know the model works. And of course we're raising money and doing funding to get that project off the ground.
Okay, so a couple of questions. The first one is can anyone in the country go to your website and get services, or are the services only local?
Actually, it's a good question. We are an international foundation. When I set up the 501c3 for the foundation, I made it international. We do not have deep pockets yet, probably to go international, but when the time comes, my vision was that Melonhead would be so successful and we would have such unlimited cash resources that we would be able to help. So our priority patients and our home base is here in Arizona, but we have helped families across the nation. We have social workers that send a lot of the children to us, and from St. Jude's and from all the hospitals here in the Valley, and then we do have the capacity to support internationally.
Deb, you are really truly an inspiration. I thank you so much for being willing to come on the show. I think it's given us a lot of insight into our own, spirits and courage, as well as really just a respect for all that you've done. And I just really want to, tell you thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for letting me share. Christine, I know many people feel I'm an inspiration, but the truth is Melanie was the inspiration. And if she were here today, I know her last words would be, choose life. It is the greatest adventure.
Melanie definitely said it better than I can. Life truly is the greatest adventure. And you too can rise from the ashes like Deb did. Create your life adventure. Integrate your tragedies and your triumphs into the amazing person that you are. Maybe today is a covers over the head kind of day. It's okay. You can do that today. But tomorrow, get up. Dust off those ashes. Go for a walk outside. Let your life light shine for a better today, for yourself and for everybody around you. Don't know if you can? Oh, I know you can, because I see amazing miracles every day. And you can too. Just open your eyes and look around. Next week on Overcome, see how Jody Helmer overcame stage 3 breast cancer and then created a business of her dreams.